So we're fortunate enough today to have Jason Deeth. Jason's played 200 NRL, or more than 200 NRL first grade games, haven't you?
Yeah, 201, would you believe?
Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah.
Who were they with? Who did you play with? What
Started
clubs?
off at the Canberra Raiders in the early 90s, and went up to North Queensland to the Cowboys when the Super League war was on, and then went across to the New Zealand Warriors and finished up with the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Wow. So really interesting time in sport back then, going from a semi-professional sport into a true professional sporting environment. You were going through that transition the whole time, yeah?
Yeah, well, back at the Raiders in the early 90s, I had a job during the day, and then in the evenings we used to train. So, yeah, that was, it was when Super League war hit in, I think, 1995.
Right.
It was a whole transition of footy and getting used to being a full-time professional player, so to speak.
Wow. So you've seen both sides of the equation. You've seen what it's like to go from being a player who has a job,
Yeah,
as well as playing football,
yeah,
to professional rugby being your primary source of income. Is that correct?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, awesome. So before I get too far down the track, perhaps you could just help me understand why NRL?
Why NRL? Oh,
Yeah.
I grew up in a small country town called Burrawa,
Yep.
down in the southwest slopes of New South Wales, an hour north of Canberra. In the winter we played rugby league, and in the summer we played cricket.
Awesome.
So,
And so was there a family connection there as well for NRL or rugby?
yeah, Dad grew up in a place called Grantville, which is about an hour north of Burrawa, and he ended up playing for the Western Suburbs in third grade, or back then they called it third grade, and he fell in love with Mum, but she lived up in Grantville, and so he moved back there. So he didn't fulfil his rugby league fantasy, so to speak.
Right. Wow. That's interesting. So there is certainly a connection and a passion, a love for that sport very early on. So tell me, when you were 12 years old, was that when kind of the defining moment for you to play football? I mean, I know for all of us, we all wish we wanted to be a policeman, a fireman, a professional footballer. When did it happen for you?
That's interesting, because when I was younger, I was a little bit overweight and carried a lot of weight, as Fatty Boomba, they used to call me. And when I was 12, and then I started to hit puberty and started to shoot up and started to develop. And that's when that's when I thought, okay, I can make it as a footy player. Or that was the dream anyway. So, yeah, that's where I was heading towards.
Awesome. So as a dream, at that point in time, were you consciously working towards that, or was that just the unachievable goal?
I think I had a lot of talent and didn't realise it, and just loved playing footy, especially for the school and also for the local club, the Burrawa Rovers, and I just had this a talent that I didn't realise that I had.
Awesome. It's really interesting that you say you didn't realise that you had, but you loved the game. So do you remember a moment perhaps that you went through where someone may have tapped you on the shoulder, or were there any of those milestone or defining moments that took place where someone said, you know what, Jace, have a crack?
Yeah, that's interesting, because my eldest brother, or a brother that's older than me, I've got three older brothers, the one in the middle, Glenn, he played for Western Region School, and everyone used to talk about how good he was as a rugby league player. He actually played with Peter Sterling in the Riverina under-17 side. So, and they always used to talk about Glenn Deeth, how good of a rugby league player he was, and I'm thinking, okay, so that's where I've got to aim for. So I think the defining moment was when I had trials for the Western Region side for the school boys up in Dubbo. And I was in year 11 at that stage, and all I wanted to do was make that team. And they started me on the bench, actually, because I was a young kid in year 11 from Burrawa, which is south of Dubbo. Like I think it was a 3-hour drive in a car, and I went out there and just played great footy, like just unbelievable. And then they took me off, and I didn't know why. And then they said, "You were just too good. You've made the team, the Western Region side." So it was very humbling, actually. So.
And so you reckon at that point in time,
that was the defining moment when I had the gentleman's name was Peter Montgomery. He said, "Mate, yeah, you're a great player. You don't have to play anymore. You've shown us enough."
wow, congratulations, mate. That's
thank you.
really a wonderful moment to actually reflect back on, and even more to remember Graham and what he said to you.
Oh, Peter Montgomery.
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
Peter. I beg your pardon. So, wow, that led you on to moving into first grade. That first match in first grade.
Yeah.
What was going on in your mind when you were in the change rooms?
That's interesting because I wasn't in the change rooms, because back in the early 90s, you were allowed to bring players up from under 21s and reserve grade and sit them on first grade bench. And I was fortunate enough to play in the under 21s. And then Tim Sheens asked us to sit on the bench in first grade. And I think we were playing at Bruce Stadium. It was called Bruce Stadium back then. And I was on the bench, and yeah, Tim got me to go on in the last 5 minutes, and I was against the Roosters. And it was a lifelong dream that I'd fulfilled, and it was so surreal because I'd achieved it.
And so 200 games later,
Yeah, wow, gosh.
or 201
Yeah.
beg your pardon, games later, you end up being renowned by a number of different clubs for who you are and what you stand for. I'm interested, during that time, did you have a mentor, a role model, someone that you looked up to be able to guide you through?
It's interesting because when I went to different clubs, I was attracted to the older people, like Dad. Initially, Dad was my mentor back in Burrawa, and then when I went to Canberra, I had a gentleman by the name of Paul Wilson kind of be my father figure. And then when I went to Townsville, another gentleman by the name Don Smith was my mentor. And then when I went to New Zealand, I had a mentor. His name was the Mad Butcher, Peter Leach, which is a household name over there. He was like, we used to sit down and talk about life and all that kind of stuff. And then when I moved to the Rabbitohs, a guy by the name of Bill Alexio Hucker was kind of like a mentor, the guy that I'd bounce things off and talk to him about life and footy and just getting on really well. And and that's... I kind of looked up to those guys. Yeah, so awesome. There was one at every club, so to speak.
And do you think that was having that opportunity to talk outside of football enabled you to perform better, or what role did that play, I should say?
They were kind of like people that are sounding boards and talk to them about life and the challenges of life and how to overcome different aspects of life, like especially later on in life when I got married and had kids. Like, gosh, my father had passed away by then, Dad, but talking to Billy about, gosh, this is hard. Like this is so hard. Like it's supposed to be easy. Like you have children, you have a wife, and you have football, and then all of a sudden you've got to develop a new career, and you just feel isolated, and you just feel, holy gee, what now? How do I get through this?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of sleepless nights, as well as a lot of you're just wondering what next? How do I live? Like I've been living like the life of a footy player. And I'm being told what to do, what to wear, where to be, what time to turn up. And I didn't have to think. It was like, here you go, this is you. And then you finish your footy career and you go, holy shit, what now? I've got to think for myself. I've got to make sure that I get up for work. I've got to do this. I've got to find a career. I've got to find something I'm passionate about. I'm not hanging around my mates anymore. I'm not having fun. Where does you kind of go in this hole. It's like you try to go, oh, okay, so take a breath. Wow. All this pressure's on you. You just go, okay, what now? And then you start talking to people. You start talking to people like Billy, Alexio, and you ask them questions. So how do I deal with this? What do I do in this situation? Do I make this decision or do I make that decision? But I've got to make a decision, even though it could be the wrong decision. But still, I'll learn from that. And I've made a lot of mistakes and learned from them. And and I've been very fortunate that I've got people around me that care, that give a shit, that really give a shit. Not just there to go, oh, Jason Deeth, oh, you're a great footy player. Oh, you've had a great game today. You know that you had a shit game, but they'd come up and to blow wind up your ass. Excuse the French. But they say, oh, you're the best. And you just go, oh, man, didn't you see that game? Like I dropped the ball 4 times or... I missed that tackle, that crucial tackle, and they scored and won the game. Gosh.
It's really interesting and thank you so much for sharing that, because I know a lot of people need to hear exactly what you said then.
Yeah.
More particularly, the fact that it's not just footy. And it's even more than that about having the people around you. And I'm very humbled that you actually share that with us. There are a lot of people that need to know that. You talk about having people around you.
Yes.
That support you.
Yeah.
Not only in footy, but also life after football.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know now.
Yes.
If you were to go back, whether it was 12 years old or going back in time, say starting in your career, what would you have told yourself based on what you know now?
Always listen to your intuition. It's always your gut feel. Like your gut is the number one. Like your mind will try to override your gut because it just does that. You think, oh, it'll be all right. I trust that person, or oh, I should do this. I should go down this track, and I shouldn't. But your gut always your mind always overrides your gut, but your gut is always right. I find that 100% correct. Listen to your intuition, your gut feeling.
I get that. I get that loud and clear. So for everyone listening, and even players that are there right at the moment, it's not only transferable on the footy field, but also in life as well. Yeah?
Yes, very much so. You can just, the analogy from footy to life, it's like when you're playing footy, you're on your own try line, they're attacking you, they're coming at you, you just keep getting up and you keep stopping them. You've got to keep stopping them. Very similar to business or life after footy. You just got to keep turning up, turn up, keep making those tackles. All of a sudden, the gap will open and you just go, boom, straight through. Then you go, okay, awesome. How good's this? Like I'm going through it now. I'm nearly into the second year of my gym career, and things are opening up. The doors are opening. Like the first 12 months, holy shit. I was getting up at 4 o'clock, coming here, making sure that the gym's set up, making sure everything's there, make sure the clients are happy, the members are happy, tell them how much you care about them, because I really do. I really believe that when you care about someone or something, that you just give it your all, it comes back. So that's my philosophy in relation to that. But you just keep turning up. The gap will open, you'll score a try.
Wise words, really wise words, particularly in the context of people sometimes give up that first attempt and they don't bother having another go. From what it sounds like, we're now a number of years out of playing footy, but you've been able to actually move every bit of hard work that you did in football over into your business career. Yeah?
That's so true. Yes.
And to be able to articulate the analogy of being on your line and defending to turning up every day in business and just doing the best that you can, you still need a team around you, right?
That's so true.
And you've got a great team around you right at the moment.
You've built a great team around you.
Awesome.
Very good support, and your gut feeling will tell you that who's there to help you, not to take advantage of you, but to help you.
That's a really interesting point that you make. Really interesting. I've got one final question for you, and this one is more for professional athletes that will be listening to this. And I know that we've talked a little bit about football, but I guess what would be the biggest thing that professional athletes need to know about life after their performance? So after they've been performing in professional sport, what do they need to know?
What do they need to know? It's interesting. You've got to hang in there, and that this time shall pass. Okay, because you think, okay, right, I've come out of professional footy, I was on high income, I've got all these assets, and then I lose cash flow. The cash flow dries up, and then I go, okay, rightio then, this time shall pass. And then you just keep building your team around you, building quality people you can trust, and then this time shall pass, and then we move on.
Wise words. Wise words. Jason, you've been really open and transparent, and thank you for trusting us to be able to have this interview and share your message with all the people that need to hear this right now. And I look forward to being able to see you move not only your business, and that's concept42.com.au, by the way, moving that health club forward, and likewise helping other players, because I understand you're quite passionate about doing that.
Very passionate about trying to helping other players get through that first 2 to 3 years of life after footy. Just to have someone that they can trust and they can talk to, and with no strings attached, so to speak.
Beautiful. Good work, Jason. Thank you very much once again.
Thanks, Craig.